Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. It's 9 o'clock, and I have a frog in my throat this morning. I've gone through a glass of water. I've done all sorts of things. It was fine till about 5 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. Anyway, that's the way life works sometimes, and it fits in with my topic today. Today, we're going to talk about the journey that the tarot symbology of the swords show us, depict to us, have us become aware of. And it's a very important suit. It talks about, in a sense, the problems that we have in our lives, but it talks about a lot more. And by understanding this particular journey, I found helped me. And in my consultations, readings, it helps me work with other people for sure. So we're going to explore the sword symbology of the tarot today, which starts off with the Ace of Swords. Now, everything has a beginning. So the swords right here, tarot symbology, especially with the aces that comes out of a cloud being held by a hand, and this is being held by the right hand. And it's the sword has on top of it, it's like a crown with the wreaths. And actually, it's the laurel wreath of victory and the palm tree with the seeds on it as well. But the real element is that the sword represents a problem. It's an issue that's arrived. And there is three yards of light on each side. And I'm going to hold that closer there. On each side of the near the handle of the sword. Three represents the Empress, which is love, but it's also just kind of elements of life. But look at the water down the bottom here. The water down the bottom here is rough. It's like a storm in a way. So here we have, I'm just going to put this down. Here we have a problem that's arrived. So how do we choose to handle it? That's what we'll talk about as we go through the symbology. But what do we do when it arrives usually is often we don't want to deal with it. Secondly, we look at it and it's disturbing because the water, the bottom of the symbology talks about the emotionality. It will stir us up. Whatever it is, we're going to be stirred up. We have to come up with a solution or we have to figure out what, when, where, and how. So again, just looking at this is the beginning. A problem. We have a problem. Now, from that problem, what do we tend to do? What we tend to do is sit there, and as you'll see, the swords are crossed over the heart, the two of swords, blindfolded. The river of life is running behind. There's some interesting little bits in here. Over here is a green patch because when they colored it, showing again, and green is kind of envy and unsettlement. It's not at this point talked of the kind of green, not the greatest energy. Rocks in the water. This person doesn't want to see, doesn't want to hear, doesn't want to know. And this little moon over here. Look, and that's moon is known as reflected light. It's not direct light like the sun. So here what we do here. And so actually what we do, we have a problem. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to know it. I want it to go away. How many times do we do that? Don't want to see. Don't want to know. Go away, go away, go away. We will do all sorts of things. Then look at something squarely and work with it. We just want it to disappear. But of course, to really understand the journey of it, it doesn't disappear. What we end up doing is being hurt, sad. It's like we finally let it in. Whatever it is, we're going to let it in. It hurts our heart. No, with this symbol, there's no getting away from it. Three swords through the heart. It looks like rain in the background, dark clouds. It's It's the next step of when we kind of go into, I don't want to know this. I don't want to deal with it. It hurts. If anybody's had a breakup that came from the other side, they'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to know. It can't be happening to me. I don't want to feel this. My heart's, broken in a way. What do we do? So any disaster of any kind that it comes in, those first three symbols talk about it: arriving, problem, issue, don't want to see it. Then we have to deal with the pain of it, because eventually we have to deal with the pain of it. Quicker the better is actually, but because we're humans, that isn't always true. So how do we deal with that? And we have to deal with it at some point, hopefully quicker than later, is this, the 4. So what do we got here? The 3 swords. I'm just going to try to straighten this here. 3 swords up on the wall. There, we just had the symbol before. Person lying down in I'm just going to deviate a minute. If you've ever been in any churches in England, they have knights like that, dressed like that. And some of that all around the churches. Sometimes, right, you walk around them. Sometimes you walk over them. One of the freakiest things I found was walking over these people buried underneath where I was walking. Didn't like it at all. But anyway, here lying down and working at resolving one issue, but we've got 3 because the 3 was here. And this window here, well, I've got the wrong finger up. This window here, although it has a black line in it, is an older person talking to a younger person, giving counsel. So it's like having to, actually, the lady looks like a woman talking to a child. We have to go inside to reconcile the pain. So basically, 4s always set the foundation. So we, just to kind of reiterate the first 4, because that's where we need to hang out, really, in the sense of resolving issues. We have a problem. We reject the problem. Don't want to feel it. But we do feel it and feel sad about it. And then we have to begin to reconcile. That's the journey of the 4, because now we got a square and we got completeness there. But it doesn't end there. 5 says, what do we do when we hurt? We fight. We put up barricades. And here in number 5, if you look at it, one man's holding the 3. Remember, the 3 symbols is the hurt. 2 swords are on the ground because now he's latching out at others. 2 people walking away crying because they've been hurt. Well, their heads are in their hands. Sky's all ragged, wretched. That's what we tend to do. Now we're going to be nasty, mean, cruel, whatever. We're going to lash back because we don't want to deal with this. We want it gone. I can almost feel it inside. It's like, well, yeah, let's be gone. So what we need to do, sometimes Terry does this. It says there's this, but what we need to do is this. Accept the responsibility of it, because the boatman has a woman and a child in his boat, and he's got 6 swords, 3 and 3, balanced out, and he's working across the river of life. So he's working out through the emotionality of the issue. And what I found myself was we can't kind of jump over a step. Sometimes we want to go from step 3 to 5 or 6. And I found myself, when I look back over the years, having all the issues I've had, is that you really can't do that. You've got to take time. And this is this has got a responsibility element to this. And that's what I find comes through very often in the readings, is that this is when you're taking responsibility for what you need to do and how to do it. But we're humans. And as humans, are we super smart? Not always, because we're run by emotions as well as our minds. And swords are more emotional. We try to be logic, but it doesn't quite work when we've got a problem and we're hurting. So now we're getting this to the sides, but the reality is we're still carrying the original hurt. Actually, the original hurt, which was 3, is now up to 5 swords, and 2 are left in the camp. So he's sneaking out. I always love this way. Sneaking out of the camp here, carrying these swords, which actually, by the way, if they slip, he's going to get really badly cut in his hands and stuff. And he thinks he's getting away with it. That's the key. If you look at it's very difficult. Look, put it up close. Look at his face. He's got a smirk. I'm getting away with this. He isn't getting away with it at all. But that's what we do. We just pretend. I'm fine. Everything's good. But you still got all the issues inside you. You still haven't resolved them. And so what ends up happening is we end up like the 8. We're tied to an outside snake. It's not a sword. It's another stake. Loosely bound, yes. 3 on one side, the original, and 5, which was we were carrying on the other side. But look behind it. Castle of Dreams. That's the goal. But where is she sitting? In the middle of a wet patch of land. Probably a lot of tears, but it's puddles. So it's not clean. She's not looking at the castle where she's got to basically end up going, but it's like, here I am locked in this. You see, if we don't resolve the issues that are there, they compound and makes it harder to get out of. Mentally, I want you to, I didn't show you actually, if you look closely at her blindfold, her bounds are loose. She could get out of that. She's just staked. She's not on top. She's not staked to a sword. She's staked. She's letting all the issues and the problems being right there. And the trouble is, if you don't do something to get out of that and take a look at the what you really want to have happen, you end up here. This is depression for sure. In the bed, crying, 9 swords on the wall. Poor me. Everything's wrong. The hope in this symbol is the bedspread. Wrong finger again. Roses, red roses of desire. Remember that. If you know tarot in the Magician, he's got red roses of desire in there to aspire. It's part of the aspiration thing. But around it as well, and I always like this, is the astrological symbols. Now, some of you know my story with astrology. 3 years of studying it, couldn't get it. Realized that's when, through that, wonderful teachers, by the way, top teachers in the US came to us in Surrey, British Columbia, to the bookstore I was working at. I listened to them, I studied, I made charts. I could intuit the chart through my own intuitiveness, but I couldn't, it just didn't fit. My daughter, astrologer. My ex-husband, astrologer. Me, give me my tarot cards, please. I can tell you anything then. But I love it that the astrology symbols are there because it's a link. It's certainly, if you understand astrology, I still have some root. People can talk to me and I understand the basics. I just didn't enjoy all the things. I wanted, give me my cards, let me intuit it, let them talk to me. Anyway, here you are, feeling absolutely miserable, but it's giving you a way out. You aspire to the knowledge, and this one that astrology gives you. Oh yeah, there's another little thing in this card I love. See on over here, I'm going to hold it really, my finger's in the way. It's a picture on the bed, the bottom part of the bed, of a swordsman felling another. You know how sword, and then that boom, right in the heart. So little symbology everywhere. So from that, we go to the end of this, which is the 10 swords. You've got 9 swords up your back and 1 by your head. But again, close. If you look at the hand lying on the sand, it has a, let's see if I can make it. It goes like this. That is a spiritual signal. That is a spiritual sign. And so he's a spine because he's going to make his journey. He's dead. There's no doubt about that. So in other words, the circumstances is done, but he's going to journey over the river, which people talk about in river Styx, I think they call it. And then comes the new dawn and the blackness goes away. When we resolve an issue, whether it was over 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, whatever, but all this, I've tracked this with myself and clients. If we do not resolve it quickly, it builds. We harbor it. We become all sorts of awareness. And the court cards talk about this. Remember, the court cards in the tarot, as far as I'm concerned, are attitudes. The attitudes that you are talking about, like how you really relate to life. So this is how you relate to a problem. First one is the young page with a sword over his shoulder. The wind, if you look at the tree, and these have got cypress trees, which are grief. In the background, you would see that he's against the wind. The wind's coming in a different direction. He's going against the wind. So he's not being very, oh yeah, I forgot the birds. In the sword symbology of the court cards, there are birds. And this is the sign of a fish. Now, in Christian symbology, the fish is very important. And so it shows up at places in the cards. And I think there's 6. No, there's more than 6 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, there's a number, probably 9, if I'm quick. And I didn't read my book to find all those little bits and pieces again. So, but anyway, here he is lashing out. But then we lash out. Well, we're going to fight. So what do? We fight. But I want you to look at a couple of things. First of all, this obviously running into battle. The knight has his face plate, which would protect his face, up over his head. His plume on is showing the speed because it's flowing right out. The horse is in a really fast way. They're going against the wind because look at the cypress trees, which cypress trees are grief. And the birds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just a little bit of a fifth one. The fifth one is the Hierophant, needs knowledge. But it's like he's scattering everything. Do we have a temper? But the thing I really like is on the horse's bridle is a little heart, really red heart. Down at the bottom, there's birds, but the birds are all closed, except for the ones flying up here. It's just like, when we overreact, when we break out, lose our temper, do whatever, when we lose it, even if we do it quietly by ourselves, the same thing happens. It disturbs all the emphasis. And then we come to the queen. The queen sits in her throne. Again, the cypress tree behind her is kind of quiet. If I remember rightly, she has one bird. She does, yes. One bird in the sky. Number 1 takes us back to the magician, which is all things are possible. She's got her sword in the right hand, which in a sense will protect the heart. Her crown is open. It's butterflies, if I remember right. Yes, and 3 are up. Well, it's a butterfly. It would be 4 butterflies, in fact, there, if you think about it, because we're only got a side view. There is a little, in her throne, a miniature child with angel wings. The little crescent moons are outward, like willing to receive, and a butterfly underneath that. Clouds are down. They're not up in the sky. That one little birdie is up there. How many times do we still protect our heart, but we look open? How many times do we say conciliatory things because we want things to go easy? But really, we're still a little nervous of it. And then finally, the king. The king of swords is like all kings, knows what he wants. Here he is. If you look at the element behind his head there that goes down, we've got a butterfly encased in 2 crescent moons. Then we have more butterflies, but they're all encased and it's narrow. His crown, the crown is like here, and it's got a little sylph, and I'll show you in a moment. Sword slightly tilted. Two birds in the sky. Now, if you know tarot at all, in the higher arcana, the 2 is the high priestess, meaning you have a choice. He has a choice here. He can sit there with his sword, or he can put his sword down, which is the defensiveness. Remember, swords are around defensiveness. He could put his sword down and be different. The cypress trees over on both sides are stationary, so there's no real wind. The 2 birds in the sky, the clouds are drifting up, and he looks ahead with his sword slightly tilted. In other words, if something came at him, he's ready and prepared. By understanding how the journey of the tarot works, you can not only work with yourself, but you can understand others when they begin to have issues. It all begins with the big aces, with the beginning. It all begins here. How do you respond to an issue? There has been some in my life I have not responded well to, which is why I always say I had to learn personally how these things work at times. And I didn't always respond well to certain things. I mean, I've gone through 2 marriages. I mean, that should explain something there. But it's like, yes, in some ways I've done really well. Some ways I've done very good. But sometimes in personal relationships, not so well. But then as you get more aware of the psychology of things, you look at your upbringing, you look at other things that go on, and the people you attract or people you get related to, fall in love with. That's the issue, I think. But that's another story. So I want you to think today about what you have unresolved. What is it that still niggles at you? Very often, and I'm prime candidate for this, something will bug me and I'll sort of put it away, like it's not worth it. It's not worth doing or saying or whatever. But if it keeps on, it'll grow. And when it grows, that's when it usually explodes and you have an issue on your hands. Swords are not what most people like to see if they're looking at the reading that I'm doing. They go, oh, but actually they're really great indicators as to how you're handling scenarios, how you're handling things that are going on, and really what's the end result we want. And sometimes we forget the end result because of the emotion. We are emotional beings often, especially when it comes things that touches us personally. In that emotional being, we've got to really recognize and apply a little bit of mentality to what is the desired outcome we want. Very often when we're upset, we don't think of it. We just know immediately because we're hurting and it's painful. We've got to think of what is the outcome we want. That's why in some cases people say, I want time out. Think about this, or I want some time to be aware, or something like that. So all of that, I think, is really, really important. And when I was contemplating what I was going to talk about today, this is what came up. So I know there are some people out there that need to hear whatever it is that's through this journey. The good news is the 10 is always waiting for you to leave it and get into some of the more wonderful symbology that goes on. So that's my talk today. And I want to thank Karen and Yvonne and Rakesh for tuning in. and whoever else does at some other time. I would, anyway, that's my talk for today. I want you to go and have a great day and keep calm, equal, and not let anything get just. I find what happens when something comes up, like in that ace, you got to accept it and then let it go. You're going to decide many times what you want to do about it, but don't take it on. Don't pretend it didn't happen or isn't there. I want you to have a good day. This is Wednesday. I'll be back Sunday if I can talk properly on Sunday with a Sunday thought, 9 o'clock Sunday morning. And I'm sure I'll definitely be there Monday night at 7 for mental mind treatments with psychic impressions. You have a great day. Have a great few days. Hopefully, I'm hoping it'll be okay. I will see you on Sunday morning. Bye now.